So we had another session. Guy goes off track. Okay, this is still before lunch.
Right.
So there's 2 red flags. This is novice school. So we get back into the classroom and the instructors are like holding their head. And they said, 3 is the track record, is the school record.
Yeah.
3 red flags in one day is the record. Let's not have 3. Let's not tie the record today, people. This was before lunch. So we have lunch. And by this time, I have to tell you, Brian, I was on cloud 9. I was getting faster and faster. My confidence was going up. I was just having a blast. I felt great. The air was great.
Are these the tires that you have on your bike normally, or did you?
So these are only about a year old
Right.
Pirelli Rosso 3s.
Yeah, so they made for that kind of.
Yeah, they're a good track tire.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
I'm just flying.
Right.
And I've gotten to the point where my confidence is so high that I was pushing every lap, meaning trying to go faster and faster. Pushing. I can go faster, leaning harder. I want my knee down. I'm just constantly everywhere I was having a fantastic time. One thing that the instructors tell you is that this is not a race. We're not out here racing, okay? Mm-hmm. So passing people is not the goal.
Right.
So when I say I'm passing people, I'm not saying that as a brag.
No, they're just taking it easier and
For whatever reason. Maybe that's as fast as they can go, or maybe they're just taking it easy. I don't know.
Right.
But I'm passing people, okay? Slower traffic.
Right.
Consistently, right? And one thing that they teach you in that school is, because it's not a race, if you get bottled up behind traffic and they don't want you to pass on the inside of corners, so you can only pass on the outside, which anybody who knows racing knows the outside's the longest way around a corner. Right? So you better be going a heck of a lot faster, but you also have to have confidence that the person you're passing
It's not going to go wide.
is not going to go wide. And here's what they're saying also is that because we're newbies, one thing a newbie does is when somebody passes them, they're not used to it.
Yeah.
First thing they do when they get that motion in their peripheral is they look at it.
Right.
If you look away from what you're doing on a racetrack, you're going to naturally want to drift to where you are looking. And so they warn you, like, look, if you want to pass somebody on that side, you run the risk of you don't know the skilled person, the person you're passing.
Right.
They might look at you, it might spook them, bam. You both are, on the ground. So I was very careful. Matter of fact, I was so careful that there were times I was behind slower traffic and I would follow them half a lap until I just was absolutely sure I could get them on a straight or get them on a wide enough, big sweeping corner that it was probably going to be okay, right? So where I'm going with this is I'm out there and I'm Mark Marquez. I'm just flying, man. And it was so cool because I would have the track all to myself, nobody in front of me. And then all of a sudden some riders would start to come into focus and I'd start to just catch up to them after like a half a lap. I found myself behind 2 riders. One was the instructor who was leading a classmate, right? But they were going really slow. And I was like, okay, I'm going to pass both of them on the front straight. One good thing about the Thruxton with all that torque is it's capable of these speed spurts.
Right.
Okay. So when you come out of a corner, you just nail it. Bam, you're passed. It's not like the smaller displacement bikes where you have to have all that momentum and you're holding it wide open. You're passing people at the end of straights. The Thruxton can pass them coming out of a corner. So I passed both of them. I'm doing over 100 at the start finish line and I completely absolutely missed my braking points, grabbed a bunch of brake, didn't do what they said, and I looked completely straight forward because all I saw was the grass in front of me. And I went off the track I watched the film back because I had my GoPro.
Yeah.
I went off the track at 50 miles an hour. So I was able to brake from 100 to 50.
Right.
And I'm at a lean and I'm going, and I go off into the grass. Well, they told you in class, if you go off in the grass, whatever you do, don't grab the front brake because you'll end up on the ground. Even with ABS, you'll end up on the ground. Don't smash on your rear brake because you'll start to fishtail and you'll end up on the ground. So I kept thinking about that. I was like, I don't want to lay my bike over. I was just like, crap. It was like riding on ice.
Yeah.
And so they tell you what you do is you slowly pump the rear brake, just up and down, slowly up and down. So I did that and it wasn't stopping. And I just kept heading towards this. They have what they call the berm.
Yeah.
And it's this big, it's like a 12-foot pile of dirt that helps keep sound in and people from going way off. Well, they also say that's like a ramp. And I was just heading straight for this. And there have been cases where people have gone over the berm.
Right.
And finally, about 20 feet before the berm, it slowed down enough where I was comfortable turning it. And I start turning the bike, and I see the one guy that I passed had followed me
Oh my God.
right into the grass because he got target fixation.
Yeah.
And I went off, he was watching me, and he went right off. You know how they always say, look where you want to go on a motorcycle?
Yeah.
Look through the corners, right? So you don't watch in front of you, you watch
Where you want to go.
where you want to go.
Yeah.
Couldn't be more true on a racetrack. And distractions, they told you, don't look at your speedometer, don't look at your gear selector, don't look at your speed. Look at where you want to go. And that, I got to be honest with you, Brian, I'm okay being a little humble here. That woke me up. I was like, okay, just like they were saying in the classroom, you were riding over your skill set.
Right.
You didn't do what they said to do in order to make that corner. What they told me to do, he kept using his fingers. He would use his fingers and turn his head. I should have turned my head towards the corner when I knew I was washing out, leaned it, turned my head, and given it throttle. I probably would have made it. But instead, I stood the bike up.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
And looked straight ahead, and I went right off the road.
On that mountain road, I did the exact same thing. I started looking ahead at the freaking wall, and next thing you know, I'm like, holy shit, I'm going really fast, and I'm heading right for the wall. And like you said, if I had just turned my head and started leaning, I probably could have made the turn, but instead I'm like, I got plenty of brake. I'm just going to slow down to like 10 miles an hour, then just limped around the corner.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, I'm out there by myself in the middle of nowhere. I don't want to lay the bike down, especially if I try to take that corner. So
right.
But I know exactly what you're talking about. That's exactly what, and then I was same thing. I'm like, why am I going so fast? I'm not racing anybody out here. It's just me. I'm just here for the scenery.
Yeah.
I mean, it is fun. So I'm not going to like go 10 miles an hour, but also I don't need to go 80 miles an hour around these curves.
Right.
I could go.
You
40.
brought it down.
Yeah, I brought it
down
to where I'm still having fun, but also I'm not risking my life to So that's a good lesson, really.
And you did exactly what the instructor said in classroom. He on the whiteboard he made a line.
Yeah.
And he drew a circle up and around, 3/4 of the way. He said, this is where logic in your brain is telling you self-preservation.
Right.
He goes, above this, that's the stupid zone. Don't think in the stupid zone when you're out there on the track.
Right.
Think
and that's
here.
why anytime like if some guy in a Porsche came up behind me, I just pulled right over and let him go by. Like, because in your mind, he's like, well, I'll go fast enough where he's happy. And then you're like, well, why am I pushing he's got 4 wheels. I don't, why am I pushing myself? Just let him go by. Who cares?
Yeah.
He's having his day. I'll have my day.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to, that was a wake up call for me. I had to, tell myself.
I got behind a guy. I think he was in a Mercedes or something. And I rode behind him for like, I don't know, 30 minutes. And I didn't mind at all, even though I felt like he was going a little slower than I probably wanted to go. But then also I was like, it's perfect because he's keeping me from going too fast. You know what I mean? Like I was still having fun. He was going pretty fast. He was out there having fun. But then I just followed him around all the corners. And also it helps to have somebody ahead of you where you can see where the corners are going, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
So,
sure.
So especially like on the
Just
track, on the track, you could see on the mountain. All you're looking at is a rock wall, and you're like, I don't know what's around that corner. You know?
As long as you can trust that they
that they're
can
gonna
navigate it,
exactly.
because you don't want to do what my friend Sam at the track did,
Yeah.
and follow me off into the grass.